So today we're going to be looking at a scenario where every single country in the world goes to war. Now this isn't going to be a 196 country battle royale, this is going to be a side picking war. So there will be two main sides, which in this scenario are going to be the USA and China, and every country in the world is going to have to pick a side. If you like this video, make sure to leave a like on it and subscribe to the channel if you're new. And let's go ahead and get started. Now the reason I picked both the USA and China is because they are both the world's superpowers. China is on the verge of becoming a superpower, whereas the US is already a superpower, so why not put them against each other? Now I may not be getting this 100% correct, especially when it comes to Africa and South America, where my knowledge of those two continents is very little, as opposed to my knowledge of Europe and Asia, which is a lot better, I guess. So if I place a country in the wrong category, then I apologize for that. You can correct me in the comments, just be nice about it, because a lot of people are mean about it. Anyway, let's go ahead and start off our sides. So here we have our teams. We have the USA and China as stated. Anyway, we're going to have both sides allies joining right away. Now these are going to be their greatest allies. So like with the US, it's going to be Canada and the UK. And with China, it's going to be North Korea, Mongolia, and Pakistan. So right away, we have our two sides here. Now at first, I was a little reluctant to put Pakistan on China's side because Pakistan doesn't have horrible relations with the US. I know that's like a known thing. They don't necessarily do regular alliance training and stuff like that, but it's not like they hate each other. But when it comes to Chinese allies, they're really the only ones I can think of is Pakistan, North Korea, and Mongolia. Now I know the same could be said for Mongolia, but it's just in the influence spirit of China. Therefore, it would most likely join on China's side. Now, moving on to Europe real quick, I think it's pretty obvious which side that Europe is mostly going to be parting with, and that is the US. Now, NATO, the EU. The United States has a very good alliance with Western Europe, and even so, it has a pretty good alliance with Central Europe as well. So I think it's going to be pretty obvious that most of Europe is going to be on the US side. So here we have Europe so far. Now, NATO isn't necessarily a factor in this because we don't really know who declared war on who, but we're just going to go ahead and presume that most NATO countries would join in on the US side. Now, that includes everyone except for Turkey because the relations with Turkey within NATO has been kind of rough recently. So they're going to be excluded, but someone who is going to be included is Ukraine. And the main reason for that is that we have Russia joining in on China's side. Now, of course, this is like World War III. Now, this is World War III. This is the Great War. This is the war to end all wars. Now, I know World War I was called that, but this concludes every country, so it's definitely going to be a big one. Anyway, with Russia joining on China's side, we have lots of Central Asia joining in on the red side as well. This also brings Georgia into the war on the blue side. Now, this is pretty obvious. Georgia is trying to join NATO and is in active conflict with Russia, so why would they join Russia? That doesn't make sense. One country I'm not necessarily sure about is Bosnia and Herzegovina. I'm going to go ahead and have Kosovo on the blue side and Serbia on the red side. That's just because the Balkans are very confusing. I'm sorry if you're from the Balkans and you don't necessarily agree with this Balkans map. I'm not sure. I was having actually a discussion with some people about it in my Discord server the other day, and we were talking about like a third Balkan war, which it wouldn't look like this because Turkey would. It's confusing. Continuing on, we have Afghanistan joining in on the red side as well as Iran. With that, we get Saudi Arabia joining in on the blue side, followed by Kuwait, and then Iraq and Syria on the red side, Azerbaijan on the blue, and Armenia on the red. Now, the Middle East is kind of in the same situation as the Balkans. It's a big mess, and I'm kind of confused about the subject, but I think I can like narrowly grasp like what the sides would be in the Middle East. The main two countries I know dislike each other are Saudi Arabia and Iran. Now, I'm pretty sure Qatar also doesn't like Saudi Arabia, or is it the other way around? A 10-second Google search says that Qatar is an Iranian and Chinese ally, so I'm going to be putting them on the red team. Anyway, we have the UAE and Oman joining in on the blue side, and then Yemen joining in on the red side. Up north, this is going to be a tough one with Israel and all, so let's do something like this. We're going to be putting Jordan on the blue side and Palestine on the red side. Now, that is because a majority of these red countries recognize Palestine, whereas a majority of these blue countries do not. Therefore, it kind of works. So Israel will be being put on the blue side and Lebanon on the blue side as well. When it comes to Cyprus, I know the island is kind of split right now, but I'm just going to be putting it as a majority blue because like only one country in the world recognizes Turkey's claim over northern Cyprus. Therefore, it's kind of useless. And with Cyprus joining the blue side, we have Turkey actually joining in on the red side. So this is because of their relation with Greece. I can't really like find a side for Turkey to fit into. If you're from Turkey, then in the comments just let me know like what side you think your country would be on. I honestly don't know. So avoiding Africa for a second, we're going to be jumping back up to Europe to finish this off. In Moldova's constitution, it states that they must be at peace, but in this scenario, they're going to be joining the blue side just because they're surrounded by blue countries. Finland will be joining the blue side, as well as Sweden. Austria will be joining the blue side. And since Switzerland is the Chad of Europe, they will not be joining any side. As for the rest of the micronations in Europe, they're all going to be joining the blue side because they have close relations with their surrounding countries. Therefore, it doesn't really make sense for them to join the red side. So jumping back over to Asia to finish this side off, we're going to be having South Korea joining the blue side. Now, this is for obvious reasons. You know, South Korea doesn't like North Korea or China, and South Korea is a U.S. ally. And the exact same is going to be said for Japan, who is going to be joining in on the blue side. Going to Taiwan, they were going to be joining in on the blue side. The Philippines are obviously going to be joining in on the blue side. We have Vietnam joining in on the blue side, Thailand joining in on the blue side, and then the rest of Southeast Asia joining in on the red side. Both Malaysia and Indonesia will be joining in on the blue side, as well as New Zealand and Australia. Our final Oceanic country that will be joining in is Papua New Guinea. Now, I don't know anything about Papua New Guinea other than they have a lot of languages, so let's just color them blue because of their proximity. It wouldn't be very smart for Papua New Guinea to join the red side. Now, then again, I don't know much about Papua New Guinea, so it could be a Chinese ally. I should probably look that up. Okay, so I think it's definitely a blue side member. Alright, so this is our world so far. Let's just zoom out a little bit more to see Australia. There it is. Very beautiful. So the last thing remaining in Asia is the Indian subcontinent. Now, if you don't know much about world politics, India does not like Pakistan, and it really doesn't like China either. But India is also a Russian ally, so it's kind of hard to put them in a group. Now, I've seen comments from India saying that they love Russia, and I've also seen comments saying that they love the US. But then again, they are going against Pakistan and China, so they will be put on the blue side. I'm going to be putting Sri Lanka on the blue side, as well as Bangladesh. And for Nepal and Bhutan, it's kind of weird because Bhutan doesn't even recognize China, so I don't think that they would join the red side. And for Mountain Land, I don't know. Okay, another quick Google search says Nepal will join the blue side. So there's that. I don't want you guys to think that I'm Google searching all these countries. I do know the basic like political, I guess, alliances in the diplomacy between countries. I only need to Google like the small countries, like I said, like Papua New Guinea, Nepal. I don't know their allies. The rest of the countries I just know, I've learned, I've studied, so there's that. So now we have all of Eurasia on a team. Let's go ahead and jump over to the Americas, finish that off, and then we'll move on to Africa, which is going to be the hardest. Starting off, we have Mexico joining in on the blue team, Cuba joining in on the red team, and from there, the rest of the Central American countries and Caribbean countries joining in on the blue side. Now, this is because the U.S. has a big sphere of influence over here, so a lot of these countries are under the U.S.'s team. Speaking of the U.S.'s team, we have Colombia joining in on the blue side, Venezuela joining in on the red side, Brazil on the blue side, all of these countries, which I don't know what they're categorized as, but they're joining in on the blue side, Ecuador joining in on the blue side, and basically all of South America joining in on the blue side with the exception of Venezuela. Now, that might be a little bit risky considering that some South American countries don't necessarily like each other, but then again, it's against China, so maybe they'll unite against China. I don't think China has any real relations with any South American countries, so they'd most likely join the blue side, especially with Venezuela joining in on the red side. So now we move over to Africa, the continent in which I'm going to suck at. So to start off, we have Morocco joining in on the blue side. Now, Morocco was the first country to recognize the U.S., not that it has anything to do with anything, but it also holds close relations with the U.S. From here, we move on down to South Africa, which will be joining in on the blue side. Once again, it was a British colony and also maintains close relations with the UK to present day, so it's going to be joining in on the blue side. When it comes to Africa, this is kind of what I've come up with. Now, most of it is kind of a guess. I don't have enough time to kind of research all of the countries in Africa, but I can kind of make educated guesses here and there, like regarding Somalia and Somaliland. Ethiopia recognizes Somaliland, and so they would be put on their side, and they have good relations with South Sudan, who doesn't have good relations with Sudan, and something about a dam with Egypt and Ethiopia. So they're going to be on opposing sides, plus, you know, Israel and Egypt. The two countries where I can't really come up with sides for is Algeria and Nigeria. So, like, Nigeria has been improving relations with China. I guess I'll put them on the red team, and I know they'd probably most likely join the red team, but I'm just going to be putting them on the blue team. Now, you have the right to yell at me for these two countries. That was just purely guessing. Nigeria was an educated guess, but I know France has been butting up with Algeria recently, so maybe that would like kind of cause them to join with them. And honestly, for Spanish Sahara, I just kind of split them in half because I know Mauritania and then Morocco have like some kind of dispute over it. So I just split it in half, just like how I did with Somalia and Somaliland. So this is my all-out war map. So we can see that a majority of the blue team is located in the Western Hemisphere, and if not in the Western Hemisphere, they are not far from it. Whereas most of the red team is located in the Eastern Hemisphere, and if they're not in the Eastern Hemisphere, then they're not far from it, with the exception of like Cuba and Venezuela. So yeah, I want you guys to tell me your opinion of this map in the comments. I think it's pretty good, but there's lots of room for improvement, like upon country knowledge and allies and stuff like that. Now, obviously, if you're from one of these countries, you're going to know more than I do, which is normal because I'm not from these countries. So feel free to correct me in the comments if I'm wrong about anything. That's greatly appreciated by me because I want to learn more about countries and stuff so I can make these videos more accurate. So yeah, anyway, let's go ahead and start the war. Now, this is going to be a very brief war, as this video is probably already pretty long. I've been recording for 33 minutes, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the video is 33 minutes long. It's probably like 5 or 6 minutes long by now. So yeah, let's go over a brief war. Now, this is not going to be in chronological order. This is just going to be happening here and there. So the first thing to happen is North America and South America taking over Venezuela and Cuba. Over in Europe, we have Bosnia and Serbia being occupied. Georgia and Azerbaijan fall to the red side. Kaliningrad is occupied. Saudi Arabia captures Yemen. Vietnam and Thailand start to get pushed back. China captures Taiwan. A push into South Korea is started. A push into northern Japan is started. Southern Africa starts to push up into Central Africa, whereas the exact opposite is happening in Central Africa. Morocco and Algeria managed to hold out as they start pushing into Mauritania and Mali. So yeah, this was what would kind of happen. Africa would probably be the biggest battleground, with every other country being on a different team. So skipping ahead a few years, this is what we could possibly see with a little bit of changes. Actually, a lot of changes. We have pretty much all of East Asia knocked out of the war. We have India losing their northern territory and also a little bit of their eastern territory, but they've made gains in Pakistan. We have the red team pushing down into Indonesia and Malaysia now. In Africa, it's just a mess. We have lots of countries knocked out over here in Central Africa, but we also have some countries knocked out over here in Northern and Western Africa. We have Ethiopia, who's holding out, and over here in the Middle East, we have a predominantly red area. In Europe, we have Russia starting their push inward, and yeah, so let's go ahead and skip forward even more. So skipping ahead a few more years, over here in Europe, we have the Russian annexation continuing on and pushing westward. In the Middle East, we have the Middle Eastern countries continuing to push into Saudi Arabia. But jumping over here real quick, we see that India is now pushing further into Pakistan. The blue team has managed to push out a little bit of Southeast Asia down here in Indonesia and Malaysia. In Africa, there's a lot of blue team progress, but this is probably going to be pushed back now that the red team has knocked out Ethiopia and can now start to refocus their troops along these borders. So yeah, honestly, I'm not sure who would win this war. This would be a very big war. It would also last for years upon years and years and years. It would probably take decades, to be honest. That's just how big of a war this is. So I'm not going to have a conclusion to this video. Now, I know a lot of people like to have a conclusion, and honestly, I myself like to have a conclusion, but I think that this video is better left off as undecided. For me personally, I think it would be some kind of stalemate where no side just makes any progress. People run out of resources and stuff like that. But you guys might be thinking differently, and I want you guys to tell me that in the comments. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I had a lot of fun making it. If you did enjoy it, make sure to leave a like on it and subscribe to the channel if you're new. As stated earlier, I do have a Discord server, so if you want to join that, there's a link for that in the description. And yeah, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.